Hello you lovely Mario person, my name is Ceave and welcome back. So a while ago I asked all of you wonderful ladies and gentlemen whether you got some questions for me. And wow, as it turns out, questions you had. I got almost 7,000 comments, most of them asking questions. So first, huge thanks for all of your questions, I had a lot of fun reading through them. Second, as it turns out, answering 7,000 questions in a single video isn't really possible, since if it takes me about 20 seconds to answer a single question, then the video would run for about 40 hours. So I went over the comments and tried to collect the questions that popped up the most for this little video. There were tons of questions on my thoughts on Mario Maker 2 and tons of more personal or silly questions. So we're going to do this in two parts. First, we're going to discuss lots of general Mario Maker questions, since I put that into the title of the video, and afterwards we're going to discuss the more personal stuff. So you ready? Let's do this! Alright, so random person asked, have you stopped entirely with Super Mario Maker 1? Do you like Super Mario Maker 2 and how it turned out? What do you think Nintendo can make better with Super Mario Maker 2? So first, no, I haven't stopped entirely with Mario Maker 1. Returning to that game every once in a while could definitely be fun, but the sequel just came out and there is so much new stuff to discover that it just makes sense to focus on that game for now. As for my general thoughts on Mario Maker 2, well, I'm actually a bit conflicted about the sequel. On the one hand, they did a really great job. There are tons of awesome new additions. On-off blocks are a complete game changer. The new themes and the night variants add tons to the game. There is definitely enough new content. Almost everything that was in the first game carried over. Overall, everything looks like Mario Maker 2 is a perfect sequel. Yet, there is still a lot of wasted potential in the game. Lots of the new stuff just feels overly restrictive to me. Why can't we put liquids into every game style? Why can't we choose night theme effects in every game theme? Like a jungle stage with the lights out modifier could be fun, or a snow stage that uses the wind effect. Why are so many new items restricted to the 3D world style when it doesn't really make sense? Like, why not have fire bros in all game styles, or clear pipes? Those blocks that make more blocks would be a great addition as well. The same is true for the track blocks. I think it is totally okay to make the 3D world style a bit different and not to port all the new stuff over, but as it is now, there are so many things locked behind certain conditions that we just can't mix stuff together. Like, we can't make a stage that contains a poison mushroom, the wind effect, those blocks that make more blocks, and I don't know, maybe rising lava. Mario Maker is all about mixing different stuff in interesting, unexpected ways, and I think there's really a lot of wasted potential here. So that's the one thing. The other thing is that I just can't shake off the feeling that they ran out of time during the end of development. There are just a couple of things in the game that are masterfully implemented, like seesaw platforms or on-off blocks. Those really work brilliantly. They really went out of their way to implement those things in a way that fits perfectly into the game. On the flip side, there are things like twisters that just don't feel finished. Why can't we put twisters into pipes? Why can't we stack them like other gizmos, like cannons? Why don't they go on tracks? And so on. It just feels like a couple of new items had a lot more time and effort put into them than others. But to actually answer the question, overall, I'm quite happy with how Mario Maker 2 turned out, and I think it's a worthy sequel. The sequel is definitely better than the first game, and the first one was already one of my favorite games of all time. But there are so many small, unnecessary restrictions that I wouldn't say they did a perfect job. To answer the third part of the question, what do you think Nintendo can make better with Mario Maker 2? Let's talk about cycle menus. So there's one change in Mario Maker 2 that I literally hate: the button placement of the select and the copy tool. I have honestly no idea why they changed the perfectly fine system from Mario Maker 1 for the sequel. So we have 3 states. Normal mode, when neither copy nor multi-grab are selected. We have the copy state and we have the multi-grab state. In the original game, copy was mapped to one of the shoulder buttons and multi-grab was mapped to the other one. So if we wanted to copy, we pressed down the shoulder button and we were in copy mode. And once we were done copying all the wonderful things we wanted to, well, copy, we let go of the button and we were back to the normal mode. So we have 3 modes, one of them being standard and 2 special modes mapped to the 2 shoulder buttons. That's as flawlessly designed as it gets. But for some super stupid reason, which we'll talk about in a second, they decided to rework this perfectly fine system for the sequel. Instead of keeping the 2 states mapped to the 2 buttons, they mapped both buttons to a cycle menu, meaning that now both shoulder buttons do the same. Namely, they cycle between the 3 different modes. One click brings us to the multi-grab menu, another click to the copy menu, and then we're back to the normal menu. And I hate that. Let's say we want to copy a bullet blaster, put it on top of a Brave Monty mold, then copy the mold and the blaster 4 times, select all 4 molds and copy them again. Which, you know, happens. In the old game, we need 5 shoulder button presses to do exactly that. First we copy the blaster, then we select them with a new button press, copy them, select and copy again. Hooray! In Mario Maker 2, it takes 9 presses of the shoulder buttons to do the exact same thing. And that is if we never overshoot the cycle menu, which, let's face it, just never happens. It often takes double the amount of button presses to do the exact same thing in Mario Maker 2 than in the first game. The reason why this makes me so grumpy is that there is only a single possible reason why they changed the old system, and that is so that the controls work exactly the same when playing with a single Joy-Con. Single Joy-Con only has 2 shoulder buttons instead of 4. So Nintendo decided to downgrade the complete input system so that it is the same in the control scheme that is very likely the least used one. Just to be clear here, it's a perfectly fine solution for single Joy-Con play, but what I don't get is why there isn't an option to switch it back to the old and much better system for people who prefer the old shoulder button mapping. Hashtag gimme shoulder button options. Sorry for the rant, but I really think Nintendo should start to give us more options on how to play their games in general. So if there is one thing I would change in Mario Maker 2, it is to simply add the option to play it with the old shoulder button mapping. Anyway, so let's start to actually answer some questions. What is your favorite addition to Super Mario Maker 2 besides icicles? That's easy to answer: on-off blocks and the seesaw platforms. What one item from any previous Mario game would you like to see added? There are actually tons of cool things that I'd love to see added to Mario Maker 2. The obvious answer here is Fantastic Fuzzies, though Koopaling bosses would be great as well. What one item that never appeared in a Mario game would you like to see added? There's one idea that I've seen thrown around often and that probably would fit the game perfectly. Physics blocks, like the option to create physical shaped blocks that do nothing but behave the same way like bullet blasters. So they interact with conveyor belts, they drop down, they destroy bombs and so on. That's something that would be unbelievably useful for building contraptions and for making crazy puzzle levels. Are we getting another tips, tricks and ideas video now that there are new items? Yes, the next video is planned to be about different tips and tricks in the 3D world style, and twisters and seesaw platforms will definitely probably get their own little video soon too. What are your thoughts and opinions on 3D World in Mario Maker 2? Is it too different or is it fine? Well, it's kind of both. I think it's totally fine to add a completely different game style to the game that allows to use Mario Maker in a completely different way. The only problem that I have with it is that lots of the 3D World exclusive items would be so unbelievably useful in the other game styles. But at the same time, some of the most important items are actually missing in 3D World. There are no munchers, there are no placeable shells, there are no tracks, there is no enemy stacking and so on. As it currently is, there really isn't much crazy stuff that we can do in 3D World besides building traditional platforming stages. Which is fine, but it would be amazing if there was one game style that had placeable shells and exclamation mark blocks, or track blocks and munchers. Those combinations just would allow for so many crazy shenanigans if we were only allowed to mix them. Which Mario game style do you think Mario Maker 2 could benefit the best, assuming we do get an extra game style? So, generally speaking, I think it would actually benefit the game more to get new items that work in already existing game styles, though a new game style would obviously be awesome as well. There are kind of 2 game styles I'd like to see added. One is the Super Mario Bros. 2 theme with tons of pick-upable enemies and items, since such a game style could be unbelievably cool for puzzle stage creation. The other style would be a Mario Galaxy theme that works like those 2D sections in the Galaxy games with tons of gravity shenanigans. Hooray! So let's switch over to the less Mario Maker focused questions. What non-platforming games do you like to play? There are actually lots of other games I play. I play basically everything that isn't a first-person shooty bang bang game. Lately, I've been playing almost exclusively indie games. I'm really into Slay the Spire, which is a brilliant roguelike card game. I recently did like my 4th playthrough of Hollow Knight, which is probably one of my all-time favorite games ever made. And I recently played through Outer Wilds, which also really blew me away. For anyone who isn't familiar with Outer Wilds is a really interesting game. It's a space exploration game where all progress you make is tied to knowledge you actually gather about the world. That's the best exploration gameplay I've ever seen in a game. Like, seriously, the exploration in that game works better than in Breath of the Wild, in my opinion. And the whole premise of the game is just utterly brilliant. It's definitely not a game for everyone, but anyone who is interested in what games can do as an art form, like everyone who is interested in less traditional gaming experiences, I totally recommend to take a look at Outer Wilds. I don't want to spoil anything, but the game is really unique. Do you have any experience in technical fields like engineering, mathematics, or computer science? Yes, I was actually studying computer science before YouTube. What is the most thrilling roller coaster you've been on? So, I have a confession to make. I hate roller coasters. They're like train crash simulators. They are like overpriced who make you feel sick machines. They're pay me $5 and I make you vomit attractions. I love theme parks, but I seriously hate roller coasters. What inspired your surprisingly simple line? Well, the answer to this question is actually... I'm kidding. For real though, actually, I was a bit afraid that people click off of the videos once I start to explain how contraptions work, so I thought it might be a good idea to say beforehand that the explanation isn't terribly complicated and that we aren't going to spend the next 5 minutes of a video discussing terribly complicated mechanics. So it was actually just meant to be a bit of a, don't worry, we aren't going to do math now thing, but yeah. Then I threw the line before actually real complicated stuff as a joke once or twice, and then I kind of memed myself into a corner. Hooray! What's your favorite Mario enemy? If we were pretending fuzzies don't exist. So I refuse to imagine a world without fuzzies, since that's a thought that makes me feel very uncomfortable. But I can answer the question which Mario enemy is my second favorite one. Coin coffers. That's to 20% because the design is just cute and ultra silly, and to 80% because the coin coffer cloning glitch in Mario 64 is possibly my favorite glitch of all time. Have you been involved in acting, public speaking, or comedy? Well, actually yes, I've been taking acting lessons for fun for basically all of my teens. Also, I've been quite active in local politics for a couple of years and got a bit of public speaking training during that time. But to say it with the immortal words of our hero Mero, politics is confusing, man. Can we all just play Mario Maker? What kind of accent do you have? That's actually an Austrian Styrian accent. So the thing is, in Austria we do speak tons of different German dialects. Like someone from the very east of Austria has a really hard time understanding someone from the west, and someone from Germany has a really hard time understanding many of the Austrian dialects. Since we all speak very different types of German, we also end up having slightly different English accents once we learn the language. The most famous person that, at least in theory, shares my accent would be this little guy.
I can hear my dog, I cannot watch it.
Have you played Doshin the Giant for the GameCube? So that's a very specific question, and the answer is actually yes. For anyone not familiar with the game, Doshin the Giant is a really weird game where you play this giant who is a god, and you either help people to live their lives or you become evil and cause mayhem. So a friend actually borrowed me the game about 20 years ago? Now that I come to think about it, I really should give him his game back. Anyway, I just got a job writing video game music. What are your top 3 games, Mario or not, that I should study the music in depth? So first, congratulations on your job. Let's see. The best soundtrack I heard this year is the soundtrack of Outer Wilds. That's one of the very few gaming soundtracks I still listen to regularly. It's also really interestingly done since the whole game is about exploring space, but the soundtrack is really guitar heavy, which wouldn't have been the first instrument that jumps to my mind when I think about space, but it's done really well. My favorite Mario soundtrack of all time is Super Mario Sunshine. It just fits the game perfectly, but the very best soundtrack of all games of all time is, at least in my opinion, this one. Holy fuzzy, the Majoras Mask soundtrack is just so good. I just can feel what it is like to play Majora's Mask as soon as I hear this track. It's such a good soundtrack. Can you sing the beginning of the Austrian national anthem for us? I've got a horrible singing voice and we're just listening to the very best gaming soundtrack of all time. But alright, I'll give it a try. Die längste Zeit ist lang vorüber und da die Höhe hast hinter dir. That was a little inside joke for the 5 people from Austria that are watching. Why do you refuse to say the word gear? I do not refuse to say the word gear. Gear is a perfectly fine word. Which YouTubers do you like most, no matter if Mario related or not? So let's go with non-Nintendo related stuff. I watch a lot of gaming retrospective videos, like the stuff that Joseph Anderson, Matthew Mathosis or King K put out. I recently binged through all of Mandalore gaming stuff. He does weird gaming reviews with a lot of humor about really obscure old games. For non-gaming related stuff, I really enjoy the movie discussions Lindsay Ellis puts out. Like her take on the Hobbit movies is honestly better than, well, the Hobbit movies. I watch a lot of Jacob Preston, who is probably best described as a Game of Thrones conspiracy theorist. I love the stuff Mossbag puts out there. Mossbag is probably best described as, well, as a Hollow Knight lore conspiracy theorist. Oh, also Mambo Jumbo. I love Mambo Jumbo's Minecraft stuff. Okay, so before we wrap this little video up, I also got a question. So, YouTube user, Mushmallow, how are you doing? Answering question, I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Well, glad you're doing fine, Mushmallow. Finally, what are you feeling especially like today? Well, I feel especially grateful that all of you are watching my silly videos. In all honesty, it's almost scary how many of you are there by now. I really just want to take a second and say thank you to all you wonderful ladies and gentlemen for watching my stuff. It honestly means the world to me. Alright. So thanks for watching this little video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and maybe feel especially like all your answers are questioned today and want to hit the subscribe button as well. I hope that all of you have a wonderful day and to see you soon. Goodbye!